The way buyers are buying in B2B is changing dramatically. And so the way sellers are selling or organizations are creating revenue should also shift. Although I do see a number of challenges there and a lot of companies risk of staying behind. So for me, the only thing that you can do is creating an integrated revenue strategy. What are the things that I often see happen? First of all, many companies are using sales methods and marketing methods that are simply obsolete. Second thing is that many companies are only using tactics or short-term driven. The third thing that I see is that many companies are working in their silos. Sales is doing sales, marketing is doing marketing, and that's it. They don't talk to each other. And something else that I often see is that people copy from the internet and they use tactics, methodologies from things that are not for their current sales stage. They're doing the wrong things basically. So the only response again is to create a revenue strategy. And in this video, I'm going to explain you why it is fundamental. I will explain you the 3 elements that help you building a high revenue strategy, and also give you a couple of pointers that will put you in the right direction to start working on your revenue strategy. But let's start with what is a revenue strategy. So basically, it's a strategy that will help you reaching your goals through sustainable and profitable growth. And in this, you have 4 elements. And one of them is what you need to do. Secondly, how do you need to do it? Thirdly, who will do it? And then the 4th element is just do it. So in other words, revenue strategy is very action driven. Because as my favorite philosopher Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they're hit in the face. So really that interaction between operations and strategy should be very well aligned. So how to tackle, how to start with revenue strategy? Because most companies, they don't have any sales or revenue strategy, which is also an opportunity for you, because if you have one and when you have a revenue strategy, you'll be ahead already about 80 or 90% of your competitors. And the reality, as I said earlier, most initiatives, they're tactics, which are operational and short-term driven. And so for a big part, nobody knows how to formulate that coherent strategy. But as Sun Tzu, that famous general a couple of thousands of years ago, said, tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. I love this quote. So let's give a couple of examples of those fake strategies or tactics in disguise. Having a lead generation strategy. It's basically tactics, how to generate leads. Or copying your competitor because you see that they're doing things that work. It's a tactic. Or let's do an SEO strategy, which is also basically a tactic. Or finally, the most expensive tactic, and do it yourself. But then how to approach it? After scaling companies times 10, 25, times 100, I noticed that there are 3 realities you need to take into account to build your revenue strategy. The first one is that you start looking at revenue generation as a system. In other words, everything you implement will have an impact on the rest of the system, for the good or for the bad. So I have a revenue operating system and there are more than 60 different elements, and I clustered them into 4. So the first one, you need to start with alignment to get rid of those assumptions and to understand that everybody works with the same goal, the same outcome in mind. Once you have set up this, then you look at your velocity, how to improve the sales velocity. And for this, you look at what you have and you start building processes, tools, methodology, technology, skill development initiatives, coaching around this. Once you have this in place, you look at the 3rd step, and this is your capacity. So what do you have installed, and what can we expect? We work at KPIs with success metrics. And when we have the 3rd element in place, finally we can start forecasting. We can start planning for the future. We can start thinking about career pathing, about celebrating and rewarding our staff. So since strategy is action driven, you need a revenue operating model, which means that over the course of 3 stages where you have demand creation, demand capture, and revenue creation, you will see across 3 departments who will do what, who has responsibilities, how is the handover, who is the lead in which stage. Then we talk about marketing, that is creating awareness as well as pull strategies. When we talk about sales, that is leading an engagement and push. And then finally, where we have client success, that is working around retention, building ambassadors so that you can have, first of all, upsells, but secondly, having more leads so that you can forward to marketing. So in that sense, the revenue operating model is actually a circle. Now, those two elements are fundamental, but they're nothing if you do not integrate the third reality. And this is, surprise, surprise, this is you. So your context will define how you define a revenue strategy and how you implement your revenue strategy. So then we're talking about your go-to market, your culture, the market you're targeting, and your life cycle you're in. And to give an example around this, if you are a CEO of a consultancy and your goal is to grow the revenue of your existing clients, then you have a completely different revenue strategy than a SaaS CEO that just collected an A round and hired 10 acquisition salespeople. Now, what can you do today to start working on a revenue strategy? And here are a couple of questions. So first of all, check how aligned your departments are. Are they all working for the same goal with the same outcome in mind? Where is your system stuck? So do you have an overview of your system with its underlying elements? The second set of questions is, do you know who drives demand creation, who drives demand capture, who drives revenue creation? And then who is in lead when? So in other words, do you have a revenue operating model? And then thirdly, do you approach this with your context in mind, or is it blind copy paste from videos or LinkedIn text that you saw? So finally, if you're a B2B leader and have questions around this, feel free to contact me. In any case, best of luck in creating revenue strategy and changing with the change.